Welcome to my studio. I am Lisa Hedstrom, and I'm going to share with you my experience and enthusiasm for a little-known Japanese shibori process called Arashi Shibori. It's easy, it's quick, and you will be able to get great results. It can also be very intricate and complicated, and we are going to cover the basics to the advanced. You can see how quickly and easily this works. If my seam is too tight, then it's harder to push, and I can go back and sew a new one. And after it goes into the die and out, we will get these watery horizontal stripes that are close together. Here we have a tube that has been dyed in a hot acid dye. We'll talk more about that later. And I have let it dry on the pole. So here we have, this is always the best. Comes right off, and you have a beautifully sculptural piece of fabric. Now, I like to use a thread I can see, so that's why I chose the green. Actually, I'm going to cut this in two, because when I show you this as we wrap, I'm going to do two different variations. Notice the differences in these three pieces. One is almost like a chevron. One is, I don't know what you'd want to call this, but you probably recognize the little raindrop shape. And then this piece. We'll talk about the differences in wrapping. Let's look at some samples. Notice the texture on these two pieces. The little bumps are running down vertically at a slight angle on this piece. And on this piece, they're running a little more horizontally across the fabric. So depending on how you've wrapped the piece and added the twist, the compression is a little different, but the key is in the back side. Here is a new texture. This was the part of the fabric against the pole. So I have taken it off, keeping it as compressed as possible and turning it over. And it is a new texture, and therefore it's a new pattern. I have been mentioning a variety of dye families, and this can be confusing for a beginner. So I would like to go over the salient points of a few dye families using Arashi Shibori. Fiber-reactive MX dyes are perhaps the most commonly used chemical dye. They can be used for both cellulose and protein fibers, that is, cotton, linen, viscose rayon, and also silk, and even wool can be used in its own recipe. I have demonstrated painting with thickened fiber-reactive MX dye using alginate thickener with urea added and a baking soda and soda ash mixture to set the dye. This fabric could either be steamed to set the dye, but can also be covered with plastic for 24 hours in a warm environment to batch or set the dye. This is a nice, efficient, low-impact method to use. But make sure you don't mix up too much dye because it doesn't keep for more than 4 hours. Fiber-reactive MX dye can also be used in an immersion method in a bucket. This is fine when you want a watery, soft effect, and this dye will also penetrate the folds of a light fabric. But in some ways, this recipe is problematic, as many recipes are for Arashi. Conventionally, recipes will be for 1 pound of fiber and about 2.5 gallons of liquid. I posed the question to you, How many ways are there to wrap fabric around a pole? And now I'm going to challenge you, how many ways can you put pleats into fabric? So how about diagonally? In fact, I could fan these pleats out. That might be interesting. Really, I think it's endless when you come to this part of working with Arashi Shibori. This is the most fun. I'm unwrapping a small scarf that I have knife pleated, wrapped, pushed straight up, dyed in a silk acid dye, rinsed on the pole, and allowed to dry absolutely bone dry. That's how to keep the pleats. Notice that I am unwrapping it from the bottom up. That way my string isn't getting all wrapped up with the fabric as it falls down. Let's take a look. Pretty nice. I think if Americans have made a contribution to the whole history of Arashi, it is in our exploitation of the folds and pleats, capturing the process. So far we have been talking about the how of Arashi Shibori. So now let's consider the why and look at some finished work. I have chosen a selection of my work from the past 30 years. I hope it will inspire you. There are endless possibilities. But first I would like to conclude with some good studio practice. Learn the techniques and gain some control. Then feel free to explore and break all the rules. But keep notes. It's a good idea to try different substrates, thick, thin, sheer, soft, crisp, and different dye applications. Learn to read your samples. Samples are not a success or failure. They are information for the next step. If you put your fabric on the wall and look at it from a distance, you will see it quite differently. Arashi will read with positive and negative spaces and a certain rhythm from a distance. And if you're a quilter, move your fabrics around. Turn a horizontal stripe until it's vertical. Cut strips and rearrange them. Cut squares to form a different geometric pattern. Most of all, enjoy yourselves and the endless surprises. So have fun, keep your eyes open, and create some fabulous fabrics.